Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Narito po tayo sa press conference ng Philippine Statistics Authority para sa March 2023 Inflation Report. We are pleased to welcome our press and media partners here with us on-site and online today. Ako po si Janine Almeda, ang inyong host for today's press briefing. Bago po natin simulan ang inflation report, gusto po naming ipahayag na ito ay naka-live stream sa ating PSA Facebook page. Updates are also tweeted on the PSA Twitter with the hashtag PHCPI. Ngayon, ikinagagalak ko pong ipakilala si PSA Undersecretary Dennis Mapa, National Statistician and Civil Registrar General, na siyang mag-uulat tungkol sa paggalaw ng presyo ng mga bilihin sa Pilipinas itong nakalipas na Marso 2023. Ating pakinggan ang report ni Yusek Dennis Mapa.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay mag-uulat ng antas ng inflation sa bansa para sa buwan ng Marso 2023. Ang headline inflation ng pagtaas ng presyo ng mga produkto at serbisyo sa bansa ay bumagal sa antas na 7.6% nitong Marso 2023. Noong Pebrero 2023, ang inflation ay naitala sa antas na 8.6% at 4.0% naman noong Marso 2022. Ang average inflation mula Enero hanggang Marso 2023 ay nasa antas na 8.3%. Ang pangunahing dahilan ng pagbagal ng antas ng inflation nitong Marso 2023 kaysa noong Pebrero 2023 ay ang mas mabagal na paggalaw ng presyo ng food and non-alcoholic beverages. Ito ay may 9.3% inflation at 50.5% share sa pagbaba ng pangkalatang inflation sa bansa. Ang nag-ambag ng malaki sa pagbaba ng inflation ng food and non-alcoholic beverages ay ang mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga sumusunod: vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa, partikular ang sibuyas na may 20.0% inflation mula sa 33.1% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals gaya ng manok na may 4.6% inflation mula sa 6.5% inflation noong Pebrero 2023 at sugar, confectionery, and desserts gaya ng asukal na pula na may 35.2% inflation mula sa 37% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Ang pangalawang nag-ambag sa pagbagal ng antas ng inflation ay ang mas mabagal na paggalaw ng presyo ng transport na may 5.3% inflation at 29.8% share sa pagbaba ng pangkahalatang inflation sa bansa nitong Marso 2023. Ang nag-ambag ng malaki sa pagbaba ng inflation ng transport ay ang pagbaba ng presyo ng mga sumusunod: gasoline na may negative 7.4% inflation mula sa 3.8% inflation noong Pebrero 2023 at diesel na may negative 6.0% inflation mula sa 14.2% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Ang pangatlong nag-ambag sa pagbagal ng antas ng inflation ay ang mas mabagal na paggalaw ng presyo ng housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels na may 7.6% inflation at 19.1% share sa pagbaba ng inflation sa bansa nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay dahil sa pagbaba ng presyo ng LPG na may negative 1.0% inflation mula sa 9.1% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Nakaambag din ang pagbaba ng inflation para sa housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels ang kuryente na may 17.3% inflation mula sa 19.5% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Pagdating naman sa overall inflation nitong Marso 2023, ang pangunahing nag-ambag ay ang food and non-alcoholic beverages na may 9.3% inflation at 46.6% share. Ang mga pangkat ng pagkain na pangunahing nagambag sa inflation ng food and non-alcoholic beverages ay ang mga sumusunod. Cereals and cereal products na may 5.5% inflation. Fish and other seafood gaya ng tilapia na may 9.9% inflation. At vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa gaya ng sibuyas na may 20.0% inflation. Ang pangalawang commodity group na may pinakamalaking ambag sa pangkalatang inflation nitong Marso 2023 ay ang housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels na may 7.6% inflation at 21.6% share sa pangkalatang inflation. Ang mga pangunahing nagambag sa inflation ng housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels ay ang mga sumusunod. Kuryente na may 17.3% inflation. Renta sa bahay na may 5.4% inflation. At bayad sa tubig na may 7.5% inflation. Ang restaurants and accommodation services ang ikatlo sa may pinakamalaking ambag sa pangkalatang inflation nitong Marso. Ang commodity group na ito ay nagtala ng 8.3% inflation at 10.6% share sa pangkalatang inflation. Ang pangunahing nag-ambag sa inflation ng restaurants and accommodation services ay ang restaurants, cafe, and the like na may 8.4% inflation. Sa 13 commodity groups, 5 ang nagpakita ng pagtaas ng presyo, ngunit sa mas mabagal na antas nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay ang mga sumusunod. Food and non-alcoholic beverages na may 9.3% inflation. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels na may 7.6% inflation. Health na may 3.9% inflation. Transport na may 5.3% inflation. At information and communication na may 0.7% inflation. Samantala, 5 commodity groups ang nagtala ng mas mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay ang mga sumusunod. Alcoholic beverages and tobacco na may 12.2% inflation. Clothing and footwear na may 5.0% inflation. Recreation, sport and culture na may 4.6% inflation. Restaurants and accommodation services na may 8.3% inflation. At personal care and miscellaneous goods and services na may 5.6% inflation. Nanatili naman sa kanilang antas ng inflation noong Pebrero 2023 ang mga sumusunod na commodity groups. Furnishing, household equipment, and routine household maintenance na may 6.2% inflation. Education services na may 3.6% inflation. At financial services na may 0% inflation. Samantala, ang core inflation sa bansa ay bumilis sa antas na 8.0% nitong Marso 2023. Noong Pebrero 2023, ang core inflation ay naitala sa antas na 7.8% at 2.2% naman noong Marso 2022. Pagdating sa National Capital Region, ang headline inflation nitong Marso 2023 ay nasa antas na 7.8%. Noong Pebrero, ang inflation sa National Capital Region ay naitala sa antas na 8.7% at 3.4% naman noong Marso 2022. Ang pangunahing dahilan ng pagbagal ng antas ng inflation sa National Capital Region ay ang mas mabagal na paggalaw ng presyo ng food and non-alcoholic beverages na may 9.3% inflation at 62.5% share nitong Marso 2023. Ang nagambag ng malaki sa pagbaba ng inflation sa food and non-alcoholic beverages ay ang mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga sumusunod na pangkat ng pagkain. Vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa, partikular ang sibuyas na may 20.6% inflation mula sa 40.8% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals gaya ng manok na may 3.3% inflation mula sa 6.0% inflation noong Pebrero 2023 at Fish and other seafood gaya ng dilis na may 7.9% inflation mula sa 10.3% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Ang pangalawang commodity group na nag-ambag sa pagbagal ng antas ng inflation sa National Capital Region ay ang transport na may 6.2% inflation at 34.3% share sa pagbaba ng inflation nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay dahil sa pagbaba ng presyo ng mga sumusunod. Diesel na may negative 9.3% inflation mula sa 13.3% inflation noong Pebrero 2023 at gasoline na may negative 9.6% inflation mula sa 2.9% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Sa mga pangkat ng pagkain sa National Capital Region, nagpakita ng mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo noong Marso 2023 ang mga sumusunod na commodity groups. Mais na may 18.1% inflation. Meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals gaya ng manok na may 3.3% inflation. Fish and other seafood gaya ng dilis na may 7.9% inflation. Milk, other dairy products, and eggs, partikular ang itlog ng pugo na may 15.5% inflation. Oils and fats, gaya ng cooking oil na may 18.8% inflation. Vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa, gaya ng sibuyas na may 20.6% inflation. At sugar, confectionery and desserts, gaya ng refined sugar na may 28.3% inflation. Samantala, nagpakita naman ng mas mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo ang mga sumusunod na pangkat ng pagkain sa National Capital Region. Bigas na may 1.0% inflation. Fruits and nuts, gaya ng saging na may 24.7% inflation. At ready-made food products and other food products not elsewhere classified tulad ng infant formula na may 14.5% inflation. Ang flour, bread, and other bakery products, pasta products, and other cereals ay nananatili sa antas na 13.0% inflation nitong Marso 2023. Sa mga lugar sa labas ng National Capital Region, ang inflation nitong Marso ay bumagal din sa antas na 7.5%. Noong Pebrero 2023, ito ay naitala sa antas na 8.5% at 4.1% naman noong Marso 2022. Sa mga lugar sa labas ng National Capital Region, ang pangunahing dahilan ng pagbagal ng antas ng inflation ay ang mas mabagal na paggalaw ng presyo ng food and non-alcoholic beverages na may 9.3% inflation at 43.8% share nitong Marso 2023. Ang nag-ambag ng malaki sa pagbaba ng inflation ng food and non-alcoholic beverages ay ang mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga sumusunod na pangkat ng pagkain. Vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas, at iba pa, partikular ang sibuyas, na may 19.9% inflation mula sa 31.8% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals, gaya ng manok, na may 4.8% inflation mula sa 6.6% inflation noong Pebrero, at sugar, confectionery, and desserts, gaya ng asukal na pula, na may 36.5% inflation mula sa 38.5% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Ang pangalawang commodity group na nag-ambag sa pagbagal ng antas ng inflation sa mga lugar sa labas ng National Capital Region ay ang transport na may 5.1% inflation at 28.9% share sa pagbaba ng inflation nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay dahil sa pagbaba ng presyo ng mga sumusunod. Gasoline na may negative 7.1% inflation mula sa 4.0% inflation noong Pebrero 2023 at diesel na may negative 4.9% inflation mula sa 14.5% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Ang pangatlong nag-ambag sa pagbagal ng antas ng inflation sa mga lugar sa labas ng National Capital Region ay ang mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels na may 7.4% inflation at 27.3% share sa pagbaba ng inflation nitong Marso 2023. Ito ay dahil sa mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente na may 17.2% inflation mula sa 21.5% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Nakaambag din sa pagbaba ng inflation para sa housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels ang LPG na may negative 0.7% inflation mula sa 9.0% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Sa mga pangkat ng pagkain sa labas ng National Capital Region, nagpakita ng mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ang mga sumusunod. Mais na may 11.6% inflation. Meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals gaya ng manok na may 4.8% inflation. Oils and fats tulad ng cooking oil na may 13.9% inflation. Vegetables, tubers, cooking bananas at iba pa, partikular ang sibuyas na may 19.9% inflation. At sugar, confectionery and dessert gaya ng asukal na pula na may 36.5% inflation. Samantala, nagpakita naman ng mas mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo ang mga sumusunod na pangkat ng pagkain sa lugar sa labas ng National Capital Region. Bigas na may 2.8% inflation. Fish and other seafood gaya ng dilis na may 10.2% inflation. Milk, other dairy products, and eggs gaya ng powdered milk na may 13.1% inflation. Fruits and nuts gaya ng saging na may 10.9% inflation. At ready-made food and other food products not elsewhere classified gaya ng dahon ng laurel na may 9.2% inflation. Samantala, ang flour, bread, and other bakery products, pasta products, and other cereals ay nananatili sa antas na 11.4% inflation nitong Marso 2023. Ang pinakamataas na inflation sa mga riyon sa labas ng National Capital Region nitong Marso 2023 ay nananatili sa Region 6 o Western Visayas na nagtala ng 9.1% inflation mula sa 10.8% noong Pebrero 2023. Samantala, ang pinakamababang inflation sa mga riyon sa labas ng National Capital Region nitong Marso ay naitala sa Cordillera Administrative Region na may 5.6% inflation mula sa 7.1% inflation noong Pebrero 2023. Kung ihahambing sa inflation na naitala sa mga riyon sa labas ng National Capital Region noong Pebrero 2023, 15 riyon ang nagtala ng mas mababang inflation nitong Marso 2023. Ito ang mga riyon na nasa box na kulay green. Samantala, ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao lamang ang nagtala ng mas mataas na inflation nitong Marso 2023. Nitong Marso 2023, ang inflation para sa bottom 30% income households ay naitala sa antas na 8.8%. Noong Pebrero 2023, ang inflation para sa bottom 30% income households ay naitala sa antas na 9.7% at 4.2% naman noong Marso 2022. Ang average inflation para sa bottom 30% income households mula Enero hanggang Marso 2023 ay naitala sa 9.4%. Ang mga pangunahing dahilan ng pagbaba ng antas ng inflation para sa bottom 30% income households nitong Marso 2023 ay ang mas mabagal na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga sumusunod na commodity groups. Food and non-alcoholic beverages na may 9.5% inflation at 42.4% share. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels na may 9.5% inflation at 40.4% share, at transport na may 6.1% inflation at 17.1% share. Ang monthly data ng inflation para sa all-income households at bottom 30% income households ay iyong makikita sa website ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Maaari itong ma-access sa mga links na naka-flash sa screen o sa pamamagitan ng pag-scan ng QR codes na nasa screen. Dito nagtatapos ang aking paglalahad ng antas ng inflation o pagtaas ng mga presyo ng serbisyo at bilihin sa bansa para sa buwan ng Marso 2023. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay lubos na nagagalak sa inyong paglahok sa press conference tungkol sa inflation sa bansa. Salamat at magandang umaga.
Maraming salamat, Undersecretary Mapa, para sa ulat ng March 2023 inflation. Ngayon, bago po natin simulan ang ating question and answer segment, nais naming ipahayag na ang press kits para sa ating online participants ay aming pong ipapadala via email. At ipapamigay naman po dito ang press kits para sa mga on-site participants. Para sa mga nais pong magtanong, please raise your hand to be recognized. And for those online, pakigamit po ang raise hand feature or send your questions via chat box. Kapag kayo po ay natawag upang magtanong, please state your name and organization. Ngayon, handa na po tayo para sa ating question and answer segment. Yes, Sir Vic of Net 25.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, Yusek Mapa.
Morning.
Vic Sumintakob na 25. Sir, I am concerned doon sa report ninyo regarding doon sa rice na isa sa dahilan na naging mataas pa rin yung epekto niya sa inflation rate natin. Mayroon bang data ang PSA kung doon sa rice production natin, Yusek?
Okay, thank you very much. Yung ating rice production for the first quarter, kasi ito ay sinasurvey ng Philippine Statistics Authority on a quarterly basis. Ito ay i-report pa lang sa May, no? Kasi nasa data collection tayo ngayon mula last week of March hanggang first week of April. Yun yung data collection. And this will be reported. While you know, you are looking at the possible link ng volume sa yung prices, of course we have to wait for the first quarter na ating volume of production ng palay and of course yung rice natin. Pero nakikita na namin ito na medyo mabagal ang pagtaas, pero tumataas na talaga yung presyo ng bigas, no? Both at the National Capital Region saka outside the National Capital Region. So for example, yung ating tatlo kasi yung ating variety ng bigas na tinatrack, no? So for example dito sa datos namin, yung average monthly retail price ng regular milled rice 1 kilo, ito ay tumataas mula January about 39.80 centavos, 39 pesos and 80 centavos. Tapos naging about 40 pesos, and naging ngayon mga 40 pesos and 20 centavos. So tumataas siya slowly, but it's increasing, and we are of course obviously monitoring this on a regular basis. So can you go down to the wheel milled rice? Yung wheel milled rice din, tumataas din siya, nagsimula ng mga 44 pesos and 10 centavos on January average nationwide, and naging 44 and 20, and naging ngayon 44 and 40 centavos. So it's increasing at a slower pace, but we're seeing that month-on-month increase in the price of rice. Thank you.
Okay. Another point from my part, Yusek. Tungkol naman sa sugar, kasi according to the report of Philippine yung SRA, Sugar Regulatory Administration, although na i-turn over sa kanila yung more than 4 million kilos of smuggled sugar, pero hindi pa siya na i-repack. Anong epekto nung sugar price dito sa inflation natin, Yusek?
Thank you very much for raising that issue. Siguro bigyan natin ng overall context. First, bumaba yung ating food inflation kasi yung sugar under siya sa food basket. So, bumaba yung ating food inflation mula 11.1% nung February, ngayong month of March, 9.5%. No? This is just the food. Kaya yung ating food and non-alcoholic beverages bumaba rin ng 9.3%. Ang food basket dito ay nagko-contribute ng 3.3 percentage points sa 7.6% na inflation. So yung ating inflation ngayong March ay 7.6%. Yung food items lang ay nag-contribute ng 3.3 percentage points. No? And provide more context doon sa inyong sinasabi kanina, may mga contributors tayo. No? Ito ina-explain naman natin palagi. So sa ngayon, ang malaking contribution sa 3.3 percentage points na yan, vegetables. Although bumaba yung vegetables, pero dahil medyo mataas pa rin yung level ng inflation, nasa 20%, ang kanyang contribution ay 0.6 percentage point. Ang onion, nag-contribute ng 0.2 percentage point sa vegetable. So bumaba na yung onion, but because the inflation is still higher, so it's still contributing 0.2 percentage point. Pangalawa yung isda, no? Kasi may pagtaas tayo dun sa isda. So it's also contributing 0.6 percentage point. And yung pangatlo, yung sugar, confectionery, and dessert, yung item na yan. Ang contribution niya, 0.4 percentage point. And then yung sugar alone is contributing 0.3 percentage point of that 0.4 percentage point. So tama kayo, mataas pa rin yung contribution ng sugar, although bumaba siya, yung sugar, confectionery, and dessert, but the drop is very, very small. No? Ang ating nakikita na retail price ng sugar sa Metro Manila and areas outside Metro Manila ay parang yung movement niya very, very slight, very small. No? That's why it's contributing significantly higher in terms of the inflation. So yung pang-apat, just to complete the picture, meat, because we saw a drop in meat, so the contribution is 0.3 percentage point. And then rice, as you mentioned kanina, 0.2 percentage point. And then bread. Bread is also high, while it maintains the inflation relative to February, but it's still high. It's also contributing 0.2 percentage point. So these are the items under the food basket that are still contributing relatively significantly portion of the 3.3 percentage point inflation out of the 7.6. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Mapa. We have yes, ma'am, Maki from GMA News.
Hi, Yusek. I'm just trying to understand, Yusek, dun sa yung bottom 30% income household, kung sila na, because with this kind of inflation, what does it mean to their income and their purchase power? Kung halimbawa you're in the 30% bottom, ano na lang ang mabibili mo? What does this mean to your income and your purchase power?
Okay, thank you very much for raising that question. Yung nakita natin, yung first muna sa bottom 30% income household, kasi iba yung kanilang, yung basket, no? Yung weight ng basket natin sa bottom 30% kaysa doon sa average household. Ito yung sa headline inflation. So I was explaining even before, yung karamihan ng laman ng bottom 30% income household ay pagkain. No? So in the food and alcoholic beverages, for example, sa average household natin para doon sa headline inflation, ito yung mga nasa 35%. Pero pagdating dito sa bottom 30% income household, ito ay nasa 55%. So mas malaki yung weight ng pagkain. Now nakikita natin bumababa naman yung food, but it's still at a higher level. As I mentioned kanina, yung food inflation natin ay ngayong Marso ay nasa 9.5%. That is still high, but lower compared to February, which is 11.1%. That's the reason why medyo mataas pa ng konti, although bumaba rin yung inflation of the bottom 30% income household. It's still higher at about 8.8% compared to the headline inflation of 7.6%. So malaking effect sa kanila. Pwede na yung mga, of course, kung yung average natin ngayon sa first quarter ay 9.3%, no? So close to 10%. So parang yung basket nila ay tumataas na ng mga about 10%, no? So if you have a fixed budget, most probably the effect is that fewer goods are being purchased. That's the direct effect of inflation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Andrea Calonzo from Bloomberg.
Hi, sir. Sir, just want to get the size and scope of the March core inflation? This was the fastest since when?
Yung 8.0%. Kaya. Let's look at the time flow. Okay, this is the highest for quite some time. The last one was 1999. The average inflation during that time, 1999, was about 6.6%, pero yung highest was 10.2. January, also 9.1 February, and then 8.1 March. So yung last niya was March 1999. Thank you.
Thank you. In relation to that question, we have an online from Sir Ralph Rivas of Rappler. Can you elaborate on the core inflation rising? Does this mean that inflation remains broad-based? What's the month-on-month inflation rate?
Okay. Una muna, no, para lang makuha natin yung pagkakaiba ng headline sa yung core inflation. So, may sa core inflation, may tinanggal tayo ng mga items for tracking, yung mga medyo high volatility items, yung mabilis yung paggalaw sa presyo. So, ito ay mga 30% of that basket, no? So, ang marami dito ay yung cereals, of course, yung rice natin, bread, etc. Mga 9 percentage points yan. Yung meat, and then fish, mayroon din tayong electricity, no? So, ito yung mga malalaki, plus of course, gasoline and diesel. So, ito yung mga tinanggal. So, nakita natin kanina sa report na yung diesel, gasoline, negative na sila. Electricity, while it is higher, bumaba siya nung March. And then, yung mga ibang items dito sa meat, for example, mababa siya. So, yung tinanggal mo doon sa parang headline inflation, mga slower or even negative. Kaya yung mga naiwan, matataas pa rin, ano? So, ano yung nandoon sa core inflation na pwede nating ma-check na masabi na tumataas talaga? Mostly services, no? Kasi mahirap yun. Like kanina, nasabi natin yung mga personal goods, personal services, tumataas siya. Yung restaurant and accommodation services, tumataas din. So, itong sa services, nakikita natin na tumataas. Ang mga high volatility items that are food and energy, electricity, gasoline, ito yung mga mababa. So, that's the difference, no? Kaya may nakita tayong mas mataas yung core over the headline inflation. Yung second question, yung month-on-month. Okay, yung seasonally adjusted natin na month-on-month for all items, nagsimula tayo sa seasonal adjusted month-on-month. Nagsimula tayo ng 1.1% noong January and again 0.3% noong February. Ngayong March ay 0% yung ating month-on-month seasonally adjusted. So nakikita rin natin yung pagbagal even on the seasonally adjusted series. Thank you.
Thank you, NS. Another question from online. We have from Sir Ted Cordero of GMA News. Na-observe po ba ng PSA na may epekto na ang policy rate hikes ng BSP kaya bumabagal na ang inflation?
Sorry Ted, hindi pa namin na pag-aralan yung no. Of course usually naman may lag yung policy rate natin. Pero sabi ko kanina yung effect ng inflation dito, una yung pagkain kasi mabagal na yung dati nating source ng inflation, medyo bumaba siya ng konti. And ang malaking nakapag-contribute of course yung nasa energy, no? Kasi yung diesel, gasoline, negative siya. Kasi kung maalala nyo, nung March, ito yung simula ng pagtaas last year because of the global effect, no? Sa energy, particularly yung aftermath of the Russian-Ukraine war. So March yun ang taas niya. So mayroon tayong mga base effect doon. Kaya nag-negative. So negative yung contribution ng energy. So may impact sa transport, may impact siya doon sa housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, particularly doon sa LPG, sa electricity. And of course, yung food natin, bumaba na yung some components like yung meat, vegetables, mataas pa rin yung inflation but relative to the previous month ay bumaba na rin. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir NS. Sir Warren de Guzman of ABS-CBN.
Good morning, Yusek. Regarding to dun sa inflation of bottom 30%, can you describe it, yung trend in terms of yung gap or difference between that and the headline inflation rate? Lumalaki ba yung gap?
Hindi naman sa ngayon yung ating for 3 months, so let's look at the right now it's 7.6. First, the trend is the trend for both going down. It's 7.6, 8.2, so that's about 1.2 percentage point. Ang isa nating tinitingnan moving forward, of course, ay yung sources ng inflation by items. So for example, right now I'm looking at this is just for March, yung comparison ng ating inflation for all income and the bottom 30%. Ang malaki talaga rito pa na medyo inflation ay yung of course food and non-alcoholic beverages. Ang all income 9.3, sila 9.5. The reason for that is because yung basket kasi, kung maalala nyo kanina, sabi ko may pagtaas sa isda, yung fish and other seafood. Mas malaki kasi yung weight ng fish and seafood sa bottom 30% compared sa meat. Yung meat pababa, mas mataas yung weight nun sa all income. Medyo mababa ng konti yung weight sa bottom 30%. May pagtaas tayo sa bigas, and the rice is consumed higher in terms of the weight sa bottom 30% compared sa all income household, So yun ang mga dynamics na tinitingnan natin. So what's good about it is that the direction is going down, but of course we want to bring down the inflation of the bottom 30% to a lower level as mentioned kanina. Because the effect is greater for the bottom 30% income household compared to, let's say, higher income household, itong effect ng inflation. So the idea here is you look at where the weights are really heavy, and this is really for food. So the only way, and we are seeing this in the past, the only way to bring down the inflation of the bottom 30% income household is to make sure that the food items are having low inflation. Thank you.
Thank you, NS.
Another question, Yusek. Regarding po yung movements in oil or fuel, may recent developments in the global markets. I'm sure you know na tumatas na siya ulit. So, sa tingin niyo ba kailan natin makikita yung impact nun? How long will it take before it filters into yung retail price?
Yeah, that's a good point. We were seeing yung parang nagkaroon ng reverse, yung price ng oil in the global market. Kung titingnan natin yung nangyari in the last year, nung February, March, and so on. So una muna, of course, ang effect niya doon sa price ng gasoline, diesel, which is what we are monitoring, medyo mabilis yun. Pero yung isa natin nakita, and I think I mentioned this in the previous press conference, yung effect niya doon sa transport, yung effect niya doon sa presyo ng ibang commodity groups that are being delivered through let's say land and so on. Medyo may lag yon, and ang nakita namin about 2 months. So yun may mga items na mas mabilis kaagad. Of course, the pump price in the gas stations, mabilis yun. And then it creates some spillover in other commodity items, as what we've seen during the 2022 round when the price of oil started increasing. Thank you.
One more question, Yusek. Finance Secretary Jocelyn said it appears inflation has peaked. Ano pa yung opinion niyo po doon?
Yeah, it seems that it's now going down. We've seen starting January. So pababa na siya. Of course, ang challenge dito is that we want to bring it down further. But the core inflation is higher. So sabi ko nga, some of the items in the basket seems to be increasing pa rin. Seasonally adjusted, I'd just like to share some of the items. So yung all items, kasi sabi ko kanina, month on month seasonally adjusted, 1.1 siya nung January, 0.3 nung February and then 0 na nung March. So that's a downward movement. For food and non-alcoholic beverages, it's 1.6 in January, 0 in February, and then negative na siya nung March sa food and non-alcoholic beverage, negative 0.2. Yung kung nakita nyo kanina, mayroon naman tayong pagtaas dun sa alcoholic beverages and tobacco. No? So ang kanyang trend naman ay pataas. It started with 0.7 month-on-month January, season adjusted ito 0.6 in February, and then 1.9 in March. So some items are going down, some items are going up. Yung clothing, footwear, 0.8 ng January, 0.5 ng Feb, and then 0.4 ng March. Restaurants and accommodation services, of course, tumaas din siya. So 0.7 ng January, 0.8 ng Feb, and 0.6 ng March. So there are items that are, obviously from the season adjusted month-on-month going down, pero may iba naman na going up, may iba na remain higher level na steady lang. So these are dynamics that will play a role in the future inflation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Warren. Yes, Ms. Maki of GMA News.
Sec, habol lang regarding the rice. If we've liberalized the rice industry, so bakit tumataas?
Well, we are seeing naman ng pagtaas, pero if you'll notice, what's good about it compared to the previous spike ng inflation in 2018, yung month-on-month niya is smaller. In fact, may mga times na negative ito, may times na flat lang siya. So the increases are really small, substantially smaller now compared to the previous years wherein we don't have the rice tariffication. So if you look at the time series, for example, for rice alone, in 2018, talagang mataas yung mga inflation and that has impact in the overall inflation, particularly in the inflation of the bottom 30%. So right now, we are seeing increases but smaller ang increment, and in the previous months we're even seeing decreases. So for example, last year September negative nga ito sa NCR. So it's just fluctuating at a very narrow band at 0. So there will be inflation. But what we're seeing based on the data is that the inflation is really small. Medyo mataas siya sa areas outside NCR compared to NCR. Sa NCR, just to give you the inflation rate sa rice, January 0.7 sa NCR, Feb 0.5, and then March 1.0. Sa areas outside NCR, January 3.0, February 2.4, and then March 2.8. So at the NCR, it's actually just very, very close to 0. It's really outside NCR. We're in slightly above 2%. Thank you.
Follow up last on yung bottom 30% sa income. So, ibig sabihin nito, kahit na bumaba ng konti, it's not much of a relief, especially if you're in that income level, because yung basket nila, of course, is still food, and food mataas pa rin.
Yeah, I agree with your point that sabi ko nga, while the inflation for food, we just look at food, which is 9.5 in March, mataas pa rin yon talaga. Although bumaba siya from Feb na 11.1. But sabi ko nga, ang average niya, mga nasa 10 yon. So, yung basket natin sa bottom 30%, ang food alone is 51.4% of the basket, and ang marami dito, of course, cereal products, ito yung mga nasa 24%. You have the rice 18%, and then followed by bread, flour bread. Kanina nakita natin, while flat yung inflation ng bread and other bakery products, medyo mataas pa rin. So ito yung nagko-contribute sa ating inflation of the bottom 30% income household. So I agree with your observation. While it is going down, it's not really going down fast because it's still about 9.5 for March. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Maki, for those questions. We have a question online from Ms. Princess of IBC News. Will this downward trend continue for the next few months? given na posibleng may malaking epekto ang El Nino at may banta ng water crisis?
Tinitingnan namin yung effect nitong El Nino saka yung water crisis natin. Of course, yung effect niya dito sa ating agri production. Ano? So, as I mentioned kanina, we will be reporting soon by next month. I think first week, makikita na natin yung situation for the first quarter of the agricultural commodities. So, ito yung crops, rice, corn, other crops. We have also yung fish natin, of course yung meat, poultry products. So lahat ito makikita natin and we will see what is the volume of production for the first quarter of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Enes. Any other questions? Online, we don't have any more questions online. No more. Okay, so I guess there are no more questions. We will be closing our question and answer segment. We would like to thank our press and media partners for joining us in the March 2023 Inflation Press Conference. Sana'y patuloy ninyo po kaming suportahan. You may visit our webpage at www.psa.gov.ph for more updates. Once again, I am Janine Almeda ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Maraming salamat at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.